All right. Okay. So this is Stats 102A, Introduction to Computational Statistics with R. And my name is Miles Chen, and I'll be your teacher. And yeah, I'm in the stats department. It's week 1 Monday. Oh, yes. So Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome back to school, or, whatever we call this. If we call this, I mean, it's school. It's just we're not on campus. So happy 2021 to you all. I've got a lot of hope for this year, a lot of hope for this quarter. We'll I mean, we always start the year off with high hopes, right? So anyway, yeah, I think things will be good, and let's go ahead and take a look at the syllabus. Or at least these are just highlights from the syllabus. My syllabus is like 9 pages long, and but please do take the time to read through it. And so anyway, here's just some basic info. Yeah, that's me. My name is Miles Chen. This is my email. We have CCLE and Campuswire, and so make sure you you join Campuswire, and there's going to be okay, and yeah, and be generous with the upvotes. You will be graded on your participation in Campuswire. So anyway, I'll talk about all of that. We'll have office hours. I've got office hours Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Wednesdays at 4, Fridays at noon, and Saturdays at 10. The link for Saturdays is a little bit different because my Saturday office hours is open for basically all of my classes and former students and all of that. So the link for Saturday office hours is different, but here, feel free to come at those times, okay? And when you send me a message, you can call me Miles. You can call me Professor Chen, Dr. Chen, whatever you're comfortable with. Just the one thing that kind of I don't like is if you if you just start saying, hi, can you do this, blah, blah, blah. And then also, I'm not a fan of just being called by my last name only without any kind of, if you want to call me by my first name only, that's fine. But if you're going to use my last name, use some kind of title or something, right? So that's that. Okay. This is the grade breakdown. 10% lecture viewing quizzes. I'll talk about that. Homework will count for 36%. So there's going to be 6 assignments, and each assignment is 6 percentage points. None of them are dropped, so make sure you do each one. Okay. Campuswire participation will count for 4 percentage points. And then your midterm and final exam will be 25% each. Okay, and that'll add up to 100%. And I haven't planned out the midterm or final yet, so I'll think about that. And I got a midterm is going to be in during 6th week, so I've got a little bit of time to come up with how exactly we're going to do the midterm. Okay, as far as grading goes, I use a straight scale. Okay. I do not curve grades, and I think this is fairly standard. Basically, the breaks are at the 7s and the 3s, right? So the pluses, C plus, B plus will be at 77 and 87. And then, regular B and regular A is at 83 and 93 and higher, and so on and so forth. The only one that is based on kind of relative performance is A plus. Top 5% of students get an A plus. But other than that, I don't curve grades. I don't believe in curving grades. I don't like the idea of your grade is based on how you performed relative to your peers. Like, I feel like you should be graded just versus the content, okay? And that's my philosophy. And so I see it my responsibility to write a fair exam that that tests students fairly. And if I write a bad exam and I have to make adjustments to the exam, then I'll make adjustments to the exam, but that's on me. And it's not based on how you do perform compared to your peers. As far as attendance and lecture viewing quizzes go, I am not going to take traditional attendance, but you are required to watch the lectures, okay? And so the way I'm going to enforce watching of the lecture is through the lecture viewing quiz, okay? And so if you go on CCLE, then, you know, under week 1, you've got the, it's got the week 1 Monday lecture viewing quiz. And basically the quiz looks like this. There's 3 questions, okay? And they just go A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, E, and there's no context, okay? These are contextless questions. And the only way you're gonna get the answers is by listening to the lecture, okay? So for example, there is a lecture viewing quiz for today's lecture and for week 1 Monday. And the very first quiz answer is B as in bear. Okay, so get out a piece of paper and write this down. You're gonna need to write this down. Week 1 Monday's first question, the answer is B as in bear, ball, Bruin, whatever it is. Okay, that's the first answer is B. And when the lecture's over, you'll just fill in the letters. I'll give you answers to questions 2 and 3 later on, and you'll put in the answer. Okay, and this way, and I give the same answers to the 5 p.m. class and the 6 p.m. class. So so you guys are here in the 6 p.m. class, but if one day you decide you want to go to the 5 p.m. class, that's fine. It's the same, pretty much the same content, same answers. And so you can attend the 5 p.m. class and you'll get the same answers for the 6 p.m. class, okay? And if you're not able to attend live, then you can watch the recording. And when you watch the recording, you'll hear the answers and you can fill them out, okay? Fill out the quiz. The quiz is only open, basically for like 48 hours or so. It closes before the next session. So the next session is gonna be Wednesday at 5 or 6 o'clock. So the quiz is open from now until Wednesday at 5 p.m. Okay, and so you just have to make sure you watch the lecture, you listen for the answers. When you hear the answers, you fill it out. Okay, just like sharing answers for any other quiz is considered cheating. Okay, if you share the quiz answers for this, that's considered cheating. Okay, so don't do that. You're not doing your friend any favors. And the reason for this, and the quizzes are only open for basically, like a 2-day window. And that's just to help you stay on track, okay? This should be a very easy 10 percentage points to earn in your, as far as your course grade goes. It should be very easy. All you have to do is watch lecture and just write down 3 letters, okay? Just remember to do that. And that will kind of help keep you on track, okay? Because they're only open for 2 days. You kind of have to watch the lecture within those 2 days. And this will prevent, what can often happen is that, maybe you fall behind on a lecture and you fall and then, the midterm comes up and you realize you're like 3 weeks behind on lectures, and then you have to binge watch a whole bunch of stats lectures. And it's like complete misery. It's kind of fun binge watching TV shows, but even then, like binge watching The Lord of the Rings, I love The Lord of the Rings, but 9 hours of it is like tiring, right? And trying to watch 9 hours of stats lecture, it's the worst experience, right? So, so this will prevent that by just kind of making sure you at least watch a lecture every kind of couple hours, okay? There's no group me. Someone put in the chat, did somebody already make a group me? No, we have a Campuswire, and I would much rather you guys all participate in Campuswire and ask each other's questions and stuff like that. So don't, I would say, yeah, don't bother with the group me. The Campuswire is going to be great. I think, okay. So, well, anyway, are there any questions on how this viewing quiz business stuff works? It should be an easy 10 percentage points as long as you remember to do this, okay? And so, just basically as soon as the lecture's over, take the view quiz answers and you'll get your points, okay? So each quiz is, yeah, pretty much 3 questions, and I'll drop one. But, other than that, there's probably gonna be like 25 or 26 of these things. They're worth 10 percentage points total. So each quiz is going to be worth like 0.4 percentage points. So if you miss one, it's not the end of the world, okay? You'll just miss out on those points, okay? And everyone is forgiven one miss, but more than that, you know, you'll lose some points, but you know, each one is not huge. Okay. As far as homework goes, homeworks are going to be long and there's a lot of coding involved. I've got kind of the late policy fully described in the syllabus, but basically most of my homeworks I make due at 6 p.m. California time, and there's kind of there's a 10-minute grace period, and basically after that, you know, you get 5 points off for each hour it's late, but then it kind of pauses until, you know, it maxes out for like 30 points off for the first day and 60 points off if it's 2 days late and stuff like that. If you need an extension, you can, and you've got documentation, you can just include the documentation. You don't have to message me. If you don't have documentation and you need an extension, just come visit me during office hours, or message me or something. And I'm usually pretty reasonable about being accommodating for different situations and stuff. But overall, that's kind of how it goes for the homework. Come to office hours. I enjoy when students come to office hours. When you do come to office hours, please introduce yourself. You know, one nice thing about Zoom is that your names are all written, so so I can see your names, and that's helpful. But do introduce yourself, and you know, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have about material. If you have questions about grad school and things like that, happy to kind of give you guidance and advice there. If we make a mistake and stuff, I'm happy to correct those as well. The things I don't like is like getting into arguments about points and stuff. Like, I get it. It's like part of the deal, and sometimes it happens, but those are my least favorite arguments that I have, is about points. But anyway, come to office hours, and that's that. Okay, let's so Campuswire. If you post your questions on Campuswire, and your fellow classmates can answer each other's questions on Campuswire, and be generous with your upvotes on Campuswire. It costs you nothing. It costs you nothing to give a classmate an upvote. In order to get full credit, you need 150 points on Campuswire, and it's really easy to hit that if people are generous with the upvotes. Okay, if everyone's super stingy with the upvotes, then yeah, it's hard to hit 150 points. But if everyone's very generous with it, you can hit 150 points very easily. And if you get Eagle status on Campuswire, then you'll get extra credit. You'll get 5 points instead of 4 points on as far as your Campuswire grade goes. Okay.
And how do you get Eagle status?
Eagle status,
how many points is that?
I don't know how many points it is, but you need to like answer like 20 questions and get like 50 upvotes or something. There's something here. I don't know.
What are the statuses?
There's level 0 is like you're still an egg, and level 1 is like you hatch, and level 2 is level 2 is like a red bird, and level 3 is the eagle. The Campuswire is the explanation of how to get Eagle status, and it's not that hard if you answer questions. And again, just be generous with upvoting each other's answers. Obviously, if the answer is bad, don't upvote it. Okay, if the answer is wrong, don't upvote it. But if it's a good answer, it doesn't cost you anything to upvote. Okay. You're likely to get a faster response if you DM me on Campuswire, and if you keep your messages short. Okay. And that's that. Okay. And if you need me to do something like grant an extension or schedule a makeup something, change a grade, come to office hours. I'll probably get it done a little bit faster. If you send me emails, like I get a bunch of emails, and it's easy for the emails to get kind of lost. So I would say office hours is the way to go here. Okay, let's see. Could I explain the different files that you upload for the homework assignment? Sure. You know what? Why don't I explain the homework maybe on another day, just because I don't think anyone's going to, well, I mean, somebody might try to finish all of the homework tonight, but, the first homework's, kind of posted, but, it's not due until next week. So I'll talk a little bit more about the homework later on, and where I think people are going to be at least having started the homework and have an idea. So we'll talk about the homework in the future here. Okay, let's talk about, oh yeah, what is this class about? This is a good question you should ask about every single class you take. You should say, what is this class about? Why am I taking this class in the first place? All right, and so I say, this class is kind of forms some foundations for data science. So data science is this whole, idea, kind of this stats and coding and stuff. And Drew Conway kind of defined data science with this Venn diagram consisting of coding skills, he calls it hacking skills, math and stats knowledge, and domain expertise. And this is kind of what the diagram looks like. And so, hacking skills, I call this coding skills. And you got math and stats knowledge. And I would say the stats major covers the coding part and the math stats knowledge, okay? And then this third circle, the substantive expertise, is going to be needed, as far as to become like a true data scientist. And so what substantive expertise means is basically you need to know about the subject that you're going to study or do an analysis for. So, for example, you can apply statistics to almost any kind of field. And that's one of the best things about the study of statistics and the major statistics is that you can play in kind of anyone's backyard in terms of what you want to study. But you got to know something about that. So, for example, there might be like kidney patient data. People, have studies being done on their kidneys. And if you're going to do that, that's great. But someone on your team or you should know something about kidney data, right? And if you don't know anything about kidney data, then your analysis is going to be basically junk because you're not going to have any idea about like what's unusual, what's an outlier, what is considered normal or strange or things like that, okay? And you need to know something about that in order to kind of make good inference. You can't just look at the numbers and say, oh yeah, this is definitely what this means, okay? There's a lot of data sets out there. There's a lot of interesting data sets out there. But if you don't know anything about the subject, it's not going to be, you're not going to be able to perform an interesting analysis. So, I think on Kaggle, one of the most popular data sets is like this wine tasting data set. And it's got like analysis on different kinds of wines. So it's a high quality data set, but if you don't know anything about wine, your analysis isn't going to be interesting, right? You're going to be able to say like, oh, this wine is red and this wine is white. And you're going to say like, I was able to kind of cluster the data according to this, but I could have told you it was a red or white wine just by looking at it. This is not an interesting analysis. And, if you don't know the difference between like a Cabernet or a Merlot or a Zinfandel or things like that, like what can you say about this wine tasting data set? So, so you got to, so as far as stats goes, you should pair it with something that you're interested in and you have some knowledge about, right? So it could be something like you're into baseball and you like studying baseball, and then you can do an analysis on baseball statistics, okay? Or if you're into something else, you can do some kind of interesting analysis, but if you don't know anything, the substantive expertise, your analysis is going to not be great, okay? And as far as the stats major goes, there's just so many fields that you can apply statistics to. So we are not, as the stats major, able to give you anything from this circle. This is kind of up to you to kind of learn and familiarize yourself with, okay? So if you're going to apply for a company, right, you're going to apply for a company, like some company needs a data scientist or something, okay? You should study a little bit to learn something about that business sector, right? So you can be kind of familiar about like what kind of growth numbers are expected, what kind of values are of interest. Okay, so as far as this course goes, Stats 102A is Introduction to the Field of Computational Statistics and Data Science. And this class aims to kind of prepare you for data science by developing your skills as a coder, and specifically in R, and we're going to apply those to different kinds of statistical applications. Thematically, we can kind of split the course into two sections. The first part is going to be a lot on programming and coding abilities, and all of your homework assignments will be heavy on code. And I mean, all of the homework assignments are heavy on code, let's be honest here. But the second half, it's then we'll start looking at methods and computational statistics. So we'll look at methods like on root finding and randomization tests and some of these methods that exist as far as computational statistics goes, you know, bootstrap and stuff like that. So this is just kind of a tentative outline of the topics. So the first 5 weeks are a lot on just different kind of coding practices and ideas and topics and stuff. And you'll do some web scraping, which I think is pretty interesting. And then the second half is going to be a lot on kind of computational statistics. So we'll look at root finding, numeric optimization, bootstrapping, and stuff like that. Okay. I like to think of this as a coding 2 class. This is something I just made up. But, you know, in order to graduate from UCLA, you have to take a class that satisfies what's called the writing 2 requirement, right? And so I don't know if you guys have already taken your writing 2 courses, or maybe you still have to do it. But when you take that class, and maybe it's like a history class or some kind of, you know, humanities class or something, you can expect to have to write a lot of essays, right? Like you take a writing 2 class, like you pretty much have to write an essay almost every single week. And that's just how it is, okay? And UCLA requires this because it says, you know, writing is essential to thinking and learning. Clear, concise writing is a key strength for an academic career. Students who write well can lead expressive lives and create powerful communication about their ideas and opinions. And I agree with that. And I'd say writing is a very important skill. And, you know, UCLA rightfully says you have to take a course heavy in writing. Now, I like to think similarly, if you're going to graduate with a degree in statistics, you need to have something like a coding 2 class, a class where you can expect to have to write a lot of coding assignments to develop your skills as a coder, okay? And so, you know, you're going to have 6 homework assignments, and they're going to be long, and it's going to be a lot of code writing. And I think that's important, okay? Being able to code is going to be essential to kind of interact with data. And, you know, it's going to be important that you can write clear, readable code to pursue some kind of data related career, okay? And so you can think of this as like a coding 2 class, okay? It's not like a real thing that exists at UCLA, but you can think of it that way. And so that brings me to this topic of academic integrity and plagiarism, and I kind of have to give you the talk on this thing. And the truth is that for a lot of the assignments I give you, you know, your first homework assignment, you have to write some code to do a prime factorization, right? You take a number and you have to kind of factor it into its prime numbers and stuff. And if you go online and you say prime factorization code, like you're going to find hundreds of solutions out there, and they're going to be very high quality solutions that do exactly what you want it to do, okay? And you know what? If the goal is to accomplish a task, then yes, you should just go ahead and use code that exists out there, okay? But the goal of this class is not to accomplish the task. The reason why I give you this assignment of prime factorization is not because I actually care if you can factor the number into primes, okay? Like I'm not actually trying to achieve that. It's just the process of thinking about the assignment, thinking how am I going to approach this problem, and coming up with a way to approach the problem, then being able to take that idea and write it into code that is of benefit to you, okay? And so I like to kind of make a comparison with the gym, okay? So there's this idea of no pain, no gain, okay? And I think people are very familiar with these ideas, right? That, you know, when you go to the gym, the goal of lifting weights at the gym is not to lift the weights, okay? Lifting weights at the gym is a means to the real goal, which is gaining strength, okay? And the idea of no pain, no gain is that if your weight training doesn't result in muscle soreness, then that means you probably didn't exert enough effort to expect muscle gain, okay? You know, when you experience muscle soreness, then that means when you go to sleep at night, your muscles will go through some repairs, and then you're going to get stronger, and that's how you get stronger, okay? And similarly, your brain is similar, right? If you go through life and if you don't force your brain to think, okay? If everything is easy to you, your brain is not going to try to make new connections to get stronger, okay? However, on the other hand, if you're given an assignment and it says like, do this thing, and it's hard and you have to think about it and you're thinking of solutions and you have to kind of ponder it and stuff, like, and at the end of it, your brain is tired, that's a good sign, okay? What's gonna happen is you're gonna go to sleep at night and your brain's gonna say, man, we worked hard today. Can we do something to make this easier in the future? And then while you're sleeping, your brain is gonna form new connections to kind of help you get better, okay? And that's how you get better as a coder. You challenge yourself, you have to think hard, your brain gets tired, and then you form new connections, and that's how you become better as a coder. And so, so the idea of struggling through a coding assignment is actually a good thing, okay? When you're given an assignment and it's hard for you, that's good. It means your brain's gonna, in the same way that it's good when you feel tired after working out at the gym, it's good that your brain feels tired after thinking hard about something, okay? And so when it comes to plagiarizing, okay, which is basically looking at someone else's solution or copying someone else's solution or getting ideas from someone else, it's kind of like having someone at the gym lift the heavy weights for you, right? You're like, oh, I want the goal of being able to, you know, lift this heavy thing. And you say, oh man, this is too hard, I can't do it. Oh, you look strong, can you do this for me? And then they lift the weights for you, right? That'd be great if the goal of lifting weights was that the weights get lifted, right? But if the goal of lifting weights is that you become strong enough where you can lift the weights yourself, then having somebody else lift the weights for you is not going to help you achieve that goal, right? And so similarly, if you copy or you get ideas from someone else, you know, that's not going to help you become stronger, right? I mean, you can talk about ideas and stuff, but you know, just kind of copying someone else's code, that's not going to help you, okay? That's not going to help you towards the goal of exercising your brain so it becomes stronger in the future, okay? And so, you know, as far as, you know, students who do plagiarize and stuff, you know, it's not because I think these are like lazy, evil students or something like that. I think the students who choose to plagiarize, they have confused the goals of the course, okay? Students who plagiarize have mixed up the goal of getting a good grade or avoiding a bad grade with the goal of learning, okay? The goal of the course is learning. And if you put the grades above your learning, then plagiarizing seems to make sense. But if the learning is more important than the grade, then plagiarism doesn't make sense, right? Because plagiarism doesn't help towards the goal of learning. It helps towards the goal of getting a grade, right? And I get it, you know, as far as grades go, like there's conflicting things. I'm like, I want you guys to learn, but then at the end of the day, I do have to assign you a grade and stuff. And that's because I can't really make some kind of individualized grading system for each person and say like, oh, you've learned a lot. You know, you started off not knowing that much, but you've learned a lot this class and things like that. And it's hard to have kind of this fair system per se in that regard. But I hope you yourself can judge your performance in a class based on how much you learned and what you've done, and not just based on the letter grade that you get assigned at the end. Okay. And so, you know, when you face a tough task in homework, what I expect that you're going to work hard. And I expect that you're not going to seek out these solutions of someone else's, whether it's a current or former student's code. Okay. And, you know, if you're not able to complete the homework assignment to 100% by the deadline, just turn in what you have. And if you didn't complete it to 100%, you're not going to get 100% on the grade, but that's okay, all right? And don't see this as a failure of your coding abilities, but just an indication of, you know, where you can improve and grow, all right? I do not enjoy having to escalate things to the dean of students, okay? But, you know, if I do come across this, you know, I do take it seriously and I do have to do that, but it's absolutely my least favorite thing to do. So don't make my life hard by doing this, okay? I want you to prioritize the goal of learning. And if you prioritize the goal of learning, then plagiarism just doesn't make sense, okay? I have a collaboration policy posted on CCLE, you know, read through it, and there's an academic integrity agreement that I'm going to have you guys sign and submit. But basically, as far as collaboration goes, you can talk to each other on Campuswire, and you can talk about ideas and stuff there. You're just not allowed to show each other your actual code, okay? And there's a lot of ways you can kind of help each other out without showing your code directly, okay? So for example, someone can ask like, how did you approach problem 2? And I'm okay, right? I'm okay. If someone's totally stuck, I'm okay with somebody giving an answer like, you know, I created for loop, and inside each iteration, I did this and I did this, okay? And you can describe a lot of what you've done without necessarily showing your actual code, okay? If you post your code, then that would be breaking the rules, right? If you email someone your code, if you show someone your screen with your code on it, that would be breaking the rules, okay? There's a lot of ways to help someone using kind of words without actually showing them your code, okay? You can't, if somebody says, can you show me how you did this so I can double check my work? Okay, you cannot show them your code, right? You know, if you're studying together with someone, you can't just share each other's screens and say, well, this is how I did it. Okay, that would be breaking the rules, right? But you can talk to each other. You can talk to each other about what approach you've taken, okay? And that's fine, right? You know, if somebody's getting an error, you can kind of copy and paste the error that you're getting, right? You can say, I got a bug and it keeps saying this, missing value where true, false needed, and things like that. And then people can kind of chime in and say, you know, did you check to make sure this and this is going on in your code? Or, you know, this kind of error message pops up if you get an NA inside of an if statement and things like that. And there's a lot of ways you can help people without necessarily saying, let me see your code, let me show you my code. This is what you have, okay? And so, so anyway, you can do that on Campuswire. You know, obviously there's a lot of code in the class. And so as long as it's not for a particular homework problem, you can share your code. So in my slides and lecture notes, there's going to be a lot of code being shared in my slides, and you can put that on Campuswire, and you can say, I don't understand this particular line from the slides and things like that. What you're not allowed to do is say, for this homework problem, can you look at this line of code? Okay, does that kind of make sense as far as offering each other help and stuff, and answering each other's questions? Okay. All right. So we're not going to get into like any kind of formal stuff here in terms of programming stuff, but this part, I call this section grades in life. And I think this is, you know, I don't know. It's not anything on coding, but it could be one of the more useful lessons of the quarter. Okay. So I want to just talk a little bit about grades. And you are here at UCLA. You got into UCLA because you had good grades in high school, or you had good grades in community college, right? You can't get into UCLA if you don't have good grades somewhere along in your academic career, right? And so, and you know, while you're in school, a lot of your energy is put into your classes and your homework assignments. And because so much of your energy is going into this, grades feel very important. But your grades do not define you, okay? And I understand, because I think, you know, I was similar to you guys in that, like in high school, I got good grades and I got to college and stuff. But you know, and it feels good to get good grades, okay? You know, and it's true, grades do play a role in grad school admissions and stuff. But even then, they are not the most important thing in life, okay? No one on their deathbed looks back and goes, oh man, I wish I got an A- instead of a B+ in that one class, right? That's not something that people look back and have regrets about, right? You know, as far, you know, I hope, you know, when people don't have regrets when they look back on their life, okay? But if they have regrets, it's usually about some estranged relationship, or that they spent more time with somebody or something. It's not going to be about grades. and things like that. Oh, okay. So I put this slide that says story time. So, so let me share just a little bit of like kind of my own personal story. And that was, so in high school, I was a good student. I was like a straight A student in high school. I spent, I didn't have very many friends, and I was okay with that because, I had my grades, right? Like, so I put a lot of my energy into getting good grades. And, I didn't go to parties and stuff. And in my senior year, I got admitted to Caltech, and that was like my dream school in high school. I got in, and I felt like, yes, finally, all of my hard work paid off. I got into the dream school I wanted to go to, and I got into Caltech, and I started Caltech in the fall. Caltech's on quarter system. In my first quarter at Caltech, I got my first C ever, right? My first C ever, and I was like, oh my gosh, this place is hard. And then winter quarter, I got my first D ever, and then spring quarter at Caltech, I got my first F ever. Actually, I failed multiple classes, and I was put on academic probation, and this was completely. This had like turned my life, my world upside down because, up through that point, I had tied my identity with my grades. I was okay not having very many friends in high school because, all of my energies were put into my grades, or put into school. And so I had good grades, and I felt good about that. And I saw a lot of myself, a lot of my identity and self-worth was tied to my grades. And so at Caltech, when I got, D's and F's and I was put on academic probation, I felt like a total loser. And I became depressed. And, in that summer, just the idea of returning to Caltech, returning to school where I'm on academic probation, I have to kind of dig my way out to get better grades. And I didn't have a plan for doing that. That was overwhelming. And then the other option would have been to have dropped out of school. And that was depressing also, because it was kind of like, why was the point of working so hard in high school if, only to like get into the school and then have to drop out. I'm very thankful. My father was very, very supportive at the time. And he told me, whatever dreams I had, it's not worth it. It's not worth the depression. It's not worth kind of this low view of self, just to kind of cling on to whatever dream I had of going to Caltech and things like that. And so ultimately I dropped out of Caltech. I transferred to another school, and kind of the change in environment and things like that was good for me. And I did better, and I graduated and I worked, and then I came to grad school, and things worked out. I'm here, I'm at UCLA, I have my dream job of teaching statistics to you guys. Like this is honestly, like I'm so thankful for this job. I absolutely love it. But at the time when I was failing, it was hard. It was very anguishing for me. But looking back, I'm actually thankful for that experience. During the time it was terrible, and I'm not thankful for the emotions that I had, but the experience forced me to disassociate my identity and my view of self to my grades. Okay, and it forced kind of this divorce between who I am and what my grades were and my academic achievements. And I was able to kind of see myself and recognize myself as a person apart from my academics. Okay, and that was, and I'm thankful for that experience that pulled me apart. If I could have done that without all of the pain, probably would have been better. But I think because so much of myself, all of high school was basically tied into that, it took that kind of painful experience for that to happen. So yeah, I had to let go of my dream of attending Caltech, but I am thankful for it. And eventually I found my self-worth and my value, not in grades and achievements or, money or things like that, but I found it in my faith. I found it in my relationship with others. And And so, I think I'm a more healthy and complete person from that experience. But yeah, so I do remember what it was like where I had put so much value into my academics. And so, any kind of, and I remember, in high school, like when a teacher gave me a bad grade on something, it made me upset and things like that. But again, I valued at that time, I had improperly put value on those grades. So anyway, I just kind of want to share that with you, share that perspective with you, and kind of just encourage you. I don't know where you are in life, but I don't want your achievements, whether they're academic or career or something, to just kind of be the definition of who you are. You are so much more than that. You are people, you have relationships, you are able to love and emote and all of these things. And these things are much more important in my perspective here. I do want to talk a little bit about work-life balance. And, and I say, we've got 24 hours in a day, and we can kind of put our energies of life into some of these kind of broad categories. And I call them work, relationships, and self. So work is going to be things like, right now for you, it's school and academics, but later on it's going to be your jobs and your internships or whatever other professional obligations you have, okay? You also have relationships, and that's going to be your family, your friends, a romantic partner if you have one, or other social obligations. And then you got self, okay? Take care of your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health. Physical health is things like food, sleep, exercise. Mental health is, sleep and play and entertainment. Spiritual health if you're spiritual or religious. And there's 24 hours in a day, and it's just not possible to give 100% to all of these categories. It's impossible to give 100% to all of these things. And, we talk about work-life balance as kind of this mysterious thing that's impossible, but it's not, okay? It's achieved by consciously choosing the things that are important to you and devoting your time and energies accordingly, right? And in general, the more time you put into something, you're going to get more out of that thing. And the less time you devote to something, you're going to get less out of that thing, okay? And if you can accept the natural consequences of what happens when you put less time into something, you can be satisfied in life, you can be happy in life, you can be free of bitterness and anger and jealousy and things like that. If you recognize that, when you put less time into this, you're going to get less out of that. And if you can accept that and be okay with that, you can find satisfaction, okay? And so, one example, all right, is that, maybe you have a group of friends and you spend a lot of time in your current group of friends, right? And then one day you become involved with you find a romantic partner, right? And now your social time, a lot of it is spent with your romantic partner, and you're spending less time with your original group of friends, okay? And so what's naturally going to happen is that when you spend a lot of time with your romantic partner, your relationship with this romantic partner is going to develop and grow. Whereas because you're spending less time with your original group of friends, you're just going to naturally grow a little bit distant from them, okay? And when you see that distance forming, okay, and it might feel hostile, okay, right? Maybe they invite you to something and you decline, and then they stop inviting you to something and you go like, why aren't you inviting me anymore? Like, next time you hang out with them, something happened at the previous hangout, and so there's like an inside joke and you're not part of the inside joke anymore and stuff, something like that. And it can feel a little hostile, but it's not that necessarily that they're trying to be hostile to you or that they're jealous of you and your new relationship or things like that. But it's just the natural consequence of spending less time with these group of people and more time with this new person, okay? And as a person, you have to choose what's important to you. If this new person is important to you, you're going to spend more time with that, and you're going to spend less time with these other people. And if you can just accept the natural consequences of what happens when you spend less time with people, that will reduce your feelings of kind of bitterness or jealousy or, feeling like they're being hostile towards you or something. Okay. Similarly, if you think about like working, one day you're going to be working for somewhere. Okay. And a lot of times in the corporate world, you're going to have colleagues. Some of them, their entire time is spent at work. Okay. They don't have friends or family outside of work. And so they spend a lot of time at work. And so, you know, the company just naturally rewards people who put a lot of time into the company. They're not necessarily punishing people who have families and life outside of work, but, you know, from the company's perspective, who's going to get promoted? The person who does everything that's asked of them and then continues to stay at work and does even more, or the person who does everything that is asked of them, but then leaves and goes and spends time with their family and friends, okay? And it's not that this person did anything wrong. It's just this person's putting in even more energy. And so as far as the works company's perspective, you know, this person deserves the promotion. And you have the ability to choose what's important to you, right? If climbing the ranks of the company is going to be more important than anything else, then you're going to spend your time accordingly, and you're going to have to, that means sacrificing a lot of stuff outside of the work, right? But on the other hand, if spending time with your family and friends and romantic partner is more important, then you should spend your time accordingly, but that might mean sacrificing or being looked over for a promotion because that promotion goes to the person who spent all of their time at work. That's just kind of naturally what happens. And you don't need to feel bitter about it. And you just have to kind of accept that this is how time gets spent and how it gets rewarded, okay? I say self-care is important. It's very important that you don't neglect taking care of your physical and your mental health. If you neglect self-care, you're going to be operating at less than 100% efficiency. And then the time that you do spend investing in work, school, relationships, and all of that stuff is just not going to be as productive, right? So let's say you didn't get enough sleep, a friend invites you to a movie or something, and you choose to accept your invitation and accept your friend's invitation, but because you didn't get any sleep, maybe you're a bit out of it, maybe you're a bit of a drag to hang out with, maybe during the movie you fall asleep and things like that. And basically the time you spend with your friend is not going to be as productive as far as kind of growing that relationship, okay? Similarly, you know, for exams, if you choose to spend all of your time studying, but you neglect care of yourself, you could end up getting sick, or your brain's just not going to be working at 100% efficiency. And, you know, it might have been better to spend that time properly eating and sleeping better rather than studying. Okay, so these are things that you kind of have to figure and balance. And so when I say things like, because you're going to hear me say things that your physical and mental health is important, what I'm saying is I want you to invest in things like exercise, sleep, and relaxation that are going to boost your physical and mental health. And sometimes that means not finishing your homework to 100%. In order to take care of yourself, that maybe you have to, you spend less time on the homework and you don't finish it to 100%. So the natural consequence of that is going to just be your homework grade is going to be less than 100%, okay? And I want you to be okay with that. I want you to be okay with saying, you know what, at this time, I'm just feeling tired. I need to take some time off. I need to sleep. This is important to me. And I'm not going to finish the homework to 100%. I'm going to turn in what I have. Maybe it's 70%, maybe it's 60% or something, but I'm okay with that because right now where I am, sleep and rest is more important, okay? And I want you guys to be okay with making a statement like that, okay? And when you can kind of readily embrace just the natural consequence of prioritizing your own physical and mental health over something like a homework grade, then you can enjoy the quarter with less kind of bitterness and more joy and overall better health. You know, I got so into this that I forgot to give you the other view quiz answers. So let me give you view quiz answers view quiz answers 2 and 3. Number 2 is C as in cat. Number 3 is D as in dog. Okay, so view quiz answers for today are C. Number 2 is C as in cat, and 3 is D as in dog. Okay, do you guys get that? All right, I know it's 6:51. I do have one more slide to talk about. Okay, and this is just kind of going along. So entertainment is an important part of maintaining your mental health. Okay, it's important to have fun. It's important to do things that are entertaining to you and fun for you. But you have to be, I want you to be aware of what I call fruitless entertainment, okay? So, you know, I love things like hanging out with people, watching TV, movies, sports, playing board games, video games, and things like that, going on hikes. I love doing all of those things, okay? But participating in an entertainment activity should be a break from work, and it should give you mental energy so that you can return to work refreshed, okay? entertainment and fun activities should be fun and should give you energy, right? But there are some activities, and even hanging out with some people, okay, I hate to say, but it's true. So hanging out with some people and some activities can have the opposite effect in that they drain you, right? And there is a lot of video games and apps and social media sites that are specifically designed to become addictive and not give you happiness or joy, okay? And they're designed to be addictive in that when you use them, you get these dopamine hits, which feel like pleasure at the time. And so you stay on them for hours and hours, you know, just scrolling forever or just playing round after round of, you know, Candy Crush Saga or whatever it is. Okay, some video game, multiplayer video game where you just keep playing round after round after round after round. But then, and you spend hours of it, and then afterwards, you don't feel good about yourself, right? You just feel like kind of like trash afterwards. You don't feel good, okay? And that's not a good use of your entertainment time, right? It's important to have entertainment. It's important to have fun. But when you do those things, you should feel better. You should feel better about yourself. You should feel good about that time you spent, okay? Like going on a hike, you should feel good afterwards, okay? And so I just want you to be aware of kind of, there's a lot of stuff out there and they're designed with the purpose of being addictive. So you stay on them as long as possible, but they don't have your mental health and your happiness and well-being in mind. Okay. They're designed to kind of use your addiction as a tool for making profit. Okay. And so just be aware of these things. And I would say, you know, if you notice that this is something that's happening, you know, minimize or spend less time on that. Okay. Because entertainment's important and I want you guys to have fun, but if you recognize that these things are not actually making you feel better, these aren't good activities to be a part of. Okay. All right. Anyway, sorry for going a few minutes over here. That's all I've got for you guys. On Wednesday, we'll start the lectures on coding and stuff in earnest. And so we see you guys on Wednesday. And I look forward to a good quarter with you guys. So have a good evening, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.